Okay, my dudes, we just have more news and more news and more news. This is our third emergency live stream in a row, where the live stream tonight, where we're going in and doing real money fantasy football drafts, it's going to be exciting because we have a lot of changing variables. Here we have Teddy Bridgewater being named the starter for the Denver Broncos. Now, this 100% changes the outlook on certain players. I'll say Teddy Bridgewater most likely was the favorite, but I was very reluctant to come out and say that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, given the fact that, the team investment into Teddy Bridgewater was so little. This team, literally, it's almost the same as picking him up off the waiver wire with what this team got for him. They had to trade like a 5th-round pick while Carolina paid his entire salary. So that kind of screams backup level price, but at the same time, clearly, Teddy Bridgewater is now the quarterback, and his style compared to Drew Lock is drastically different. So we have to go through, we have to see what this means for Javonte Williams. We have to see what this means for Judy, Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, because I think some of these players actually benefit more than others. So real quick, let me pull up the live chat for everybody coming out again. I know that we have just been going crazy with the live streams as of late, which is why if you are not subscribe to the channel and you have not hit that bell next to the subscribe button yet, you better do so. And I promise you guys that tonight, like I said, we are going to update the Darrell Henderson ranking. We are going to update the ranking for Damian Harris, Sony Michel. All that was going to be for everybody who's used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. And at the same time, everybody a part of the Patreon community. We're going to go through, we're going to update these Denver guys because I think we have, obviously, it's not going to be a massive change given the fact that Teddy Bridgewater was kind of baked into being in this situation in the first place. But I want to go through, I want to talk about who I actually think he fits best with in this offense. So let's pull this up. And the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the average depth of target for the receivers in this offense compared to what we have with Teddy Bridgewater and what we have seen with how he aggressively throws the ball down the field. And the case of that is he doesn't aggressively throw the ball down the field. We know Teddy Bridgewater is more so someone that you have in at quarterback that, you're not trying to get Teddy Bridgewater to win you the game. You're trying to get Teddy Bridgewater to not lose you the game. So he's not going to be someone that's extremely aggressive with how he's throwing the ball down the field. Rather, he's going to be someone that's more so playing the game manager type role. And if we pull this up, let me just control F him here in terms of his averaged depth of pass attempt. And here's average air yards per pass attempt is actually at 7.1. This is in line with Daniel Jones, Taysom Hill, and Phillip Rivers from last season. And what this tells us is that Teddy Bridgewater, just like we previously stated, he's not someone looking to throw the ball deep downfield. Rather, he is someone that's going to be consistently checking down. Now, what we have to go do is we have to do the research on Cortland Sutton, Judy, Noah Fant, trying to figure out where these players operate. And I will also say, if we just pull up these stats for the Carolina Panthers last season, you're going to see, in my opinion, something that really stands out with a Mike Davis, because let's pull this up. So, of course, the Mike Davis statistics last year are going to be a little skewed given the fact that I think Christian McCaffrey ended up playing, was it 3 games? We have the stats right here. I can find it in just 1 second. So, yeah, Christian McCaffrey played 3 games where he had 60 attempts, and Christian McCaffrey himself had close to 20 targets in those 3 games. So if we just look at the amount of targets that the running backs got out of the backfield last season in Carolina, it was close to 90. So just those 2 running backs getting about 90 targets out of the backfield is significant because we divide 90 by 16. What is that? That's like 5.5 targets. At least I'm assuming maybe it's a little bit less than that. Let's just call it about 5 targets per game that these running backs were seeing. And now we know with the Javonte Williams that he was someone that was actually getting a decent amount of usage in the receiving game at UNC, even with Michael Carter being more than a capable pass catching running back. I'm sure if you've read our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, we went through and we showed you the historical threshold that you needed from a college target share for a running back coming into the NFL to prove that he can be a more than capable pass catcher. And Javonte Williams crushed that threshold while having to share that backfield with a Michael Carter. So Javonte Williams is a more than capable pass catching running back. Now he is getting Teddy Bridgewater named the starter. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be someone that I think more times than not going to be looking to check the ball down to the running back position. So I'm going to be giving a bump up to Javonte. Obviously, as well, with a Teddy Bridgewater, you're expecting less turnovers. You're expecting less mistakes. So possibly this means more trips to the red zone, more touchdown equity for Javonte Williams. So I think Javonte has to be a riser. If I'm pulling up Javonte Williams in my rankings currently to try to figure out where he is and where he may move to. And like I said, this is not going to be a Travis Etienne situation. This is honestly, I mean, maybe you can compare it to Sony Michel and what we have in the adjustments that we're having to make there, because they're not going to be massive adjustments that we're making, but they're definitely going to be adjustments nonetheless. So if we pull up these rankings to see where we have a Javonte Williams. So as of now in the running back rankings, we actually have Javonte Williams as running back 24. We have him directly behind Kareem Hunt and Josh Jacobs. I actually think now we need to consider moving Javonte Williams clearly ahead of Kareem Hunt. I mean, I think that's going to be a no-brainer for us, even though I love Kareem Hunt. Y'all know how much we have talked about Hunt this season. I think he's actually going to fall in the same tier as a Darrell Henderson and a Josh Jacobs. Like I said, all these rankings, I promise you, will be updated tonight. This is my initial reaction based on the initial piece of news that we have. So that's where I'm going to be standing with a Javonte Williams. Now, if we go over to the overall rankings to see where I currently have him, we currently have him at 50 overall. So if you're following these rankings, you're drafting Javonte Williams a ton in the 5th round. I don't think we can move him up that much further than this. He'll probably go to the top of that tier. He'll probably jump Kareem Hunt in one slot, and he'll probably go to 49. Of course, give me a day to think about it, because yesterday when we ended up moving James Robinson, I didn't move him as high as we were initially saying in the initial reaction video. And now also coming over here and looking at what we are going to see in terms of going back to the average air yards per target that these receivers have to try to figure out where they operate on the football field. Because, I mean, we know just based on understanding how these receivers operate, at least my monkey brain tells me that Jerry Judy is going to be the guy that actually benefits from someone like a Teddy Bridgewater coming in, whereas Jerry Judy is going to be running routes that are more so over the middle of the field. Jerry Judy is going to be someone that is running routes a little closer to the line of scrimmage, where Cortland Sutton, on the other hand, he is someone that's going to be operating on the boundaries, and at the same time, KJ Hamler is going to be stretching the field and trying to get over the top of those safeties. So I think that this move, honestly, away from a possibility of Drew Lock over to a for sure thing with Teddy Bridgewater, this is going to give a bump up to Jerry Judy. This is going to give us a slight downgrade of both Cortland Sutton as well as KJ Hamler, even though y'all know I have loved KJ Hamler for a very long time now. But anyway, let me go through and let's confirm this hypothesis by just trying to figure out what the average air yards, the average depth of target was for a Jerry Judy last year. So let's put the minimum at the amount of targets that we need to see for this threshold at 50. Right now I'm using FTN, which is just a free thing. I just looked up average air yards. I'm sure that y'all can find it as well. So we looked and we made it the minimum threshold of having at least 50 targets. And if we go over to the team for the Denver Broncos, let's kind of figure out where we were at last year. So last year, Denver actually had Jerry Judy with an extremely high average depth of target. Jerry Judy was actually at 13.64, and this is a big reason why I wanted to go through and I wanted to confirm this, because it looks like we could easily be wrong here. I mean, maybe we're looking at this as Jerry Judy was being used a little bit deeper downfield than I initially thought. Now, what I want to do is let's go back to 2019 and let's see what we had with Cortland Sutton. So Cortland Sutton, if we're looking at this same data from 2019, okay, it looks like, honestly, I may not even be able to find Cortland Sutton in this data set. Just give me 1 second here, my dudes. Give me 1 second. Maybe we just have to hit search or something, because we need to find Cortland Sutton. 2019 average air yards per target. This data definitely exists. I've looked up this data a million times before. It just takes a little bit of time. Okay, so let's go to 2019. Maybe if we just get rid of Denver. Okay, yeah, we got Cortland Sutton here. Let me get the minimum target threshold up a little bit. Let's put that at 100, and let's sort this by the average depth of target. So here we actually had Cortland Sutton. Actually, I can't find Cortland Sutton. This may be something I have to do a little bit later on. Maybe this is something that I have to do later tonight when we update the rankings, because for whatever reason, Cortland Sutton is not popping up for me right now. But this is at least my initial thought. And I really want y'all to go out and let me know if y'all think that I am just completely off here. I'm operating under the assumption that we're getting Jerry Judy, honestly, probably a slight upgrade with a Drew Lock. I'm going to have to do more research on this. I'm very disappointed that I can't find this information on Cortland Sutton. Maybe I'll just sit here and try to do it a little bit longer. Let me just go through and try to find this a little bit. Just give me a little bit of time. 2019 air yards. Wide receiver. Cue the plug says, anyone know how to get a record player to stop skipping? I have no idea what you're talking about, my man. Okay, so and Mason says no stream last night. No, my man, we did a stream in the middle of the day yesterday. We got a draft going. I promise you we'll get a stream tonight as well. We'll definitely get a stream going tonight. And also, if y'all have not dropped a like on the live stream yet, make sure y'all go down there, drop that like. It helps us out a ton. I mean, nobody else is bringing real analysis this quick. And yes, it's taking me a little bit of time to go through, but I mean, it takes me a lot of time to do the research whenever I go through and update those rankings. That's why I think my initial reaction to James Robinson yesterday, being willing to move him up to the beginning of the 3rd round, that was a little rich. If you actually check the rankings, we have him now as a mid 3rd round pick. I think I made a mistake in the draft yesterday, taking him at the 301. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of different things that we are having to look at and trying to determine what's going to be the better fit. I will say for sure, even though we can't find this information with the Cortland Sutton, we want to be bumping down KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler is not that interesting anymore. And I want to be bumping up the very minimum Noah Fant. I think the Noah Fant, while yes, you did not have a tight end in Carolina last year getting a decent amount of usage, that was more so with the personnel that we had in Carolina rather than what you actually had with the Teddy Bridgewater's preference, and that there was no tight end. I mean, Ian Thomas has proven to be nothing after coming out of that 2017 NFL draft class. So now that we actually have a Noah Fant who's going to be operating a little closer to the line of scrimmage, we already saw that Teddy Bridgewater looks to be a check down king. I mean, this is a narrative that we have heard a million times before. This is something that gets backed up with statistics. Now, I want to go through, I'm going to do a little more research on the combination of Jerry Judy and Cortland Sutton. Now, we will be live streaming tonight. Of course, I can talk about it more in depth there. I will also be going through and giving out that updated set of rankings for anybody who's used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, for anybody who's been a part of the Patreon community. And I will say my initial reaction, KJ Hamler down, Jerry Judy probably up. Now, this is going to be something that we have to look a little more into. Cortland Sutton, most likely down. Noah Fant up. Javonte Williams, definitely Javonte Williams is a riser. I think Javonte, this is perfect for a multitude of reasons. And I know a lot of people want to say, but Mason, Melvin Gordon's the starting running back there. Melvin Gordon may be the starting running back for the first month, but he's not going to be the starting running back by the time we get to the fantasy football playoffs. And a little tidbit for anybody who is drafting on Underdog Fantasy, which y'all know we draft there every single night. If y'all are playing in a public contest, like if y'all are playing in Best Ball Mania, if y'all are playing in the Puppy, where you know there's a ton of money at the top for the tournament at the end of the season, just know not that many people have drafted Teddy Bridgewater so far because of the uncertainty in this situation. So now Teddy Bridgewater is going to be an extremely appealing draft pick in the 18th round because his ownership percentage is going to be just very, very low in the tournament at the end of the season. Y'all know on Underdog Fantasy, if you enter into a $5 public contest, if you either win your 12-man league or you get second in your 12-man league, of course you get paid for getting that placement as well, but you also get entered into a tournament during the fantasy football playoffs where you're going up against a large pool of people for a ridiculous amount of money at the top. I mean, if you do a $25 buy-in, you're going up for $1 million at the top, and you know there are the ladders all the way down. If you do the $5 buy-in, you're going up for $200,000 at the very top, and there are all those ladders all the way down. So I will say, in those leagues, Teddy Bridgewater is now a much more appealing candidate because by the time we get to the playoffs, not that many people are going to own him. So if in week 15 he pops off for 4 passing touchdowns and you have a Denver stack with the Teddy Bridgewater in there that really nobody else has, go and try to get that right now, because all those teams that have drafted within the last month, none of them have gone through and none of them have taken a Teddy Bridgewater. But that should be it, my dudes. I will be live again with the live stream tonight, getting some real money fantasy football drafts in. I will also update those rankings very soon, but I hope this was a decent video in what we were talking about with an instant reaction. Now, we are going to be looking up a little bit more on the average depth of target for Jerry Judy, for Cortland Sutton, seeing where they're operating on the field to try to determine exactly how far up or down they're going to be moving in our rankings. But it's unquestioned, you want to be moving up both Javonte Williams and Noah Fant. And on Underdog Fantasy in those public leagues, you want to be drafting Teddy Bridgewater in the 18th round almost every single time if you can. And yeah, that's all I got for you, my dudes. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you can come out to the live stream tonight. And I really hope I see you in the live stream tonight, my dudes.